Karl Hampton, how are you personally feeling?
Oh, look, pretty nervous at the moment. You know, I always knew it was going to be close, too close to call. Who knows, we may have to wait another 10 days to find out the result.
Your major opposition, Best Price from the Country Liberals, is actually one of your relatives. What's it been like campaigning against someone with that sort of a family connection?
Oh, look, I'm not going to talk about my opponent, regardless of that particular issue. I want to focus on particularly the colleagues that have lost their seats. You know, I do feel for them. I'm hanging on with a glimmer of hope. You know, I've worked hard over the last 6 years. Obviously, as a minister with 8 portfolios over the last 3.5 years, it's been very difficult. It's a huge electorate the size of Germany, as I say to the kids in Stuart around the schools. So, you know, I hang out for obviously the Catherine pre-polls, postal votes, and see what comes up. But whichever way it falls, you know, I accept the verdict of the people of Stuart.
Why do you think there's been such a big swing to the Country Liberals?
Well, obviously, the issues of the shires has been a regular and big issue that people have raised with me and my electorate. Back on the back of the intervention, you know, I've opposed quite consistently the intervention, the stronger futures legislation mixed in with the shires. You know, housing's another big issue, particularly for a lot of those non-growth towns in my electorate, and that's something that I've consistently written about over many years to various people in the government. So housing, jobs, on the back of the shires as well as on the back of the intervention.
And the bush seats are looking to be the seats that may actually decide this election. Do you think that the Labor Party perhaps has underestimated the importance of those remote seats?
Absolutely not. As a bush caucus, which was part of government, we met all the time as bush colleagues. As I said, I feel for my colleagues that have lost their seats, but at all times we've always considered the issues in the bush. I think there's been an enormous amount of work done in the bush in terms of infrastructure, in terms of housing, roads. We know the CLP budget doesn't have any extra money for bush roads, but I think there's been an enormous amount of work done in the bush. I think, you know, the difficulty is with so many of my colleagues holding ministerial portfolios as well, the issues of minority government has had its part in terms of this. I think for me in Stuart as well, First Nations has had a big impact in Stuart. You know, hopefully more of those preferences flow to me from the First Nations party, but yeah, I think they're all issues at play here.
And it's been documented that it's been a tense campaign between you and Best Price. She's come out publicly and criticised some of the things that you've said, and there's been words between the two parties at polling booths. How do you think that that has affected the votes?
Look, I'm very proud of what I've said about my identity, my heritage, and I spent time at Yuendumu today at the voting deliberately because that's my heartland. That's where my heart is. My identity comes from there. And looking at the results, you know, they very strongly supported me, and I thank the people of Yuendumu, the elders and my family for their support through good times and some of those issues that I've had to deal with during this campaign. But for sure, the vote there today, you know, I'm very proud of those people, and regardless, I'll continue to be a strong supporter of the Yuendumu community and many of those other communities that were very strong for me in the electorate of Stuart, but particularly for Yuendumu.
Well, Karl Hampton, I think we'll have to wait a little bit longer to see who has won this seat. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you very much.